I used to work for a pharmaceutical company. In fact, I used to sell Zoloft. And so I was on the front lines of seeing how frequently and often these were just handed out. And, I was talking with a therapist the other day, and she's been in this game a really long time. And she's like, back in the day before you were able to prescribe an antidepressant, you had to go through other health factors to rule out underlying conditions before you were able to prescribe an antidepressant. And I can assure you that is not happening. I think what a lot of parents should also take into consideration, and I want to stay here a minute with you, Beth, because I know this is so big, and I'm glad we're addressing it up front in case some parents can't continue through the entire podcast. But antidepressants have a black box warning on them for children under the age of 18. So I think this is where it gets controversial, right? Maybe some parents are on some antidepressants, and then our flag go up, and it's that tension of, well, you're saying these are bad, I need them, right, in order to function. And look, we're not saying that these aren't a tool in the toolbox, but I think at the core of what's going on, and at least from what I've been through as a parent, what I have seen on the front lines working in pharmaceuticals, what I now have gone through as a parent, what I've also now gone through for my own training in health coaching. And here's the differential that I would ask a lot more parents to start leaning into. It's not necessarily that your children has a mental health condition. They are having mental health challenges associated with health conditions that are masking mental health problems.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's, and so what causes that, right? Well, you could have metal toxicity. You could have chemical toxicity like glyphosate, or you could have different herbicides that are building up in your child's system. You could have mold. You could have underlying infections. You could have nutritional deficiencies. You could have gut dysbiosis. You could have Lyme. You could have all kinds of different things that are going on, which could be contributing to what Epidemic Answers in your organization talks a lot about, which is called toxic load. So I think that's so important for parents to understand, because I talk to a lot and they're like, we're going to see a therapist, or we're going to see a psychiatrist, or we're going to the doctor, and they're giving it an antidepressant and they're not getting any better. And so here's why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the thing is that our culture, which includes our medical system, is not designed to look for root causes truly. And that's a generalization. Certainly there are tons of integrative and functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, osteopaths, chiropractors who do look at the root causes. But the larger medical system, like when you funnel into your primary care provider that insurance covers, they're usually not giving you options, and they're not telling you, all right, so your child has ADHD. Have you, let's do a nutrient panel. Are they deficient in zinc? Are they deficient in magnesium? Are they deficient in omega fatty acids? Let's just take ADHD alone as an example. There's tons of literature that says that these kids with ADHD have all kinds of nutrient deficiencies. Why can't we start there? That's not the only contributing factor. It's a major piece of it. Blood glucose. There's kids with ADHD. We just released a story a month ago through our organization on our YouTube channel. A child who had ADHD, who's basically his blood sugar was just constantly up and down, up and down, up and down, because his family didn't know about the importance of diet and how that impacted his ability to stay focused and attentive. And so they basically went on essentially a ketogenic diet, just took the major refined sugars and carbohydrates out of his diet, and ADHD is gone. That's not how it always is, but that's an example of somebody looked at the root cause and be like, oh, this kid's blood sugars are out of control. Maybe we should address that. Another example is there's a whole series of functional dentists who believe ADHD is secondary to sleep disordered breathing or sleep apnea. These kids who sleep with their mouth open, who don't have proper development of their jaw and their airways, and they're not getting oxygenation at night. They might be waking up 50 times a night because they can't get air. This is very common in this generation of children. Once you address that you can wear, dental devices and things like that. But once you address, and these kids are getting oxygen at night, breathing through their nose, oxygenating their tissues, the ADHD symptoms go away. So it's usually never one thing, but those are examples of really low-hanging fruit root causes that can be addressed, for which there are practitioners. Oftentimes these things aren't covered by insurance, which is a systemic issue we have. This is a problem that we don't, as a society, support this kind of work yet. We will at one point, because there's plenty of evidence that this is it's way better to like address a child's nutrient deficiencies and have them on medication for the rest of their life, right? Like that just
Right.
makes so much sense. And there's a cost benefit to that too, right? But we just haven't caught up for a variety of political and economic reasons. So there are answers under each one of these conditions. I don't care what your diagnosis is. There's reasons for it. Root causes. It's like you mentioned, mental health is a function of things going on, like medical imbalances in the body, physiological imbalances of the body. We now have the tools through diagnostics and clinical assessments to be able to see where those imbalances are. A lot of them have to do with the gastrointestinal tract and the
Absolutely.
microbiome and all the things that that does for our mental health. So we have the tools. We just haven't, as a system, as a society, and our institutions, embraced these tools yet.